conversation today with a question. And the question is there a God? Now, I know a lot of people have different ideas about this and different viewpoints on it. My viewpoint is there most definitely is a God. I want you to know that if you're asking yourself, does Kurt believe in God? The answer is, not only do I believe in God, I believe in the God of the Bible, and I believe that Jesus Christ was God in the flesh, come to act as a salvation mechanism for mankind. And that's putting it in a kind of clinical and cold way. The truth is, what I understand to be true is that he died on a cross, hung on a cross, nailed to a cross, and he did so after being beaten, according to what Scripture says, beyond recognition, so you couldn't even recognize the guy that you were talking about, and hung on a cross because he had the audacity to state that he was who he was. This is what I understand. So this is where we're going to start. I want you to understand that that's where I'm starting my day today. But I want to talk today on the idea of an evil God on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is the 26th of March of 2022. Welcome for everyone who's been here, or who is here, on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page, the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on minds.minds.com, if you happen to be seeing me there, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter. You'll forgive me, I'm kind of thinking about the actual subject, and it means that I'm not quite as, maybe, quote, professional when I'm doing my opening today, but the subject is an evil God, and I'm going to go ahead and run through my notes and talk about that just a little bit more. And that will, again, this will sort of set my basic premises that I'm going to be putting forward today. There are a great many folks out there who choose to use an argument against God. It looks like this: there is evil in the world. There are malnourished children on earth. There are disfigured people on the planet. People die horrible deaths. If you were God, would you allow such things to exist? Which, by the way, reminds me that subject is sort of halfway a question, right? I'm going to answer the questions I just asked, or the question I just asked, with the idea or with a statement, yes, I would. So now I'm that evil God. Here, no, I'm not really, but my point is, if I were God, that's what I would do. Here's the ongoing problem as I see it. You have no idea why God allows what he does to happen here in this realm. All you know is that it looks evil to you. You may think you understand enough to comprehend why God, quote, allows, end of quote, what he does. There's just one problem with that. You're not God. One word picture I've heard used to describe my inability to understand looks like this. You're looking through the window in a door. You see two men with masks on and sharp objects in their hands, essentially knives. On a table is a baby. It's hard to tell if he's dead or alive since he's not moving. One of the men proceeds to cut into that baby. Now, you may have already figured this out, but we'll keep going. Is what you're seeing a good thing, or is it a bad one? What if I told you those two men were doctors, and they were performing an operation? Would that additional information change your mind? I hope so. So, that's how it is with God. Why does he allow or even do what he does? You really haven't the knowledge, the data, if you will, to get the reasons for what's happening, to really figure out the reasons for what's happening. Okay, I'm done with my notes. So kind of short notes today. But this is one of those subjects I really could talk on for a while. There are many things that happen. Let me give you an interesting example. I'm a software developer, and I'm working on some web pages right now, and there's somebody else telling me what they want to have happen on those web pages. They're looking at what I'm doing, and they're thinking, oh, this will be simple. They don't know what I'm actually having to go through to make those pages what they need to be. I'm not complaining. This is my job. It's what I do. I can't complain about having to do my job. I'm just saying that this individual doesn't get what I'm going through. She can't. I'll lay in that piece of information. It's a she in this case, but it's not that she's any less savvy than anyone else. It's that she can't know because she doesn't have certain piece of information without getting into things she doesn't have access to, or probably doesn't have access to, or maybe doesn't understand or need to get into. She doesn't understand what I'm having to do to accomplish a given thing. So she might say, I want you to do this. And I might look at the thing that she's asking me to do and go, oh wow, in order to do that, I'm going to have to do these various things that are not simple, they seem simple, but they're not. So it is with God. You look at a situation, a circumstance, and you think, this is a simple matter of this or that. God can't possibly allow for malnourished children. God can't possibly allow for essentially large-scale destruction of Jews who are supposedly his people. He can't possibly allow for that. God can't allow for world war. But you see, if God allows people to have free will, he kind of has to allow for all of those things. I said yesterday that I might talk about the book of Job. The whole book of Job is Job being essentially an honorable, decent man, in one sense sort of questioning the motivations of God, without really intending to, mind you, and God coming to Job and saying, Job, you don't understand lots of things. You don't know why the sun comes up in one direction, sets in another. You didn't make those whales and other things that are in the ocean. You don't really understand a lot of stuff that's going on. You may think you do, but you don't. You weren't there when I did these things. You weren't there when I set things in motion. So for you to assume that you know what's going on in the world well enough to understand the things that are happening there, why children are dying in poverty, why people live on garbage piles and eat the stuff from them and so forth, you cannot understand that. I will say this again, if God gives man free will, gives him a reign over his little territory, then when man chooses to do bad things with that, if God intervenes in lots of ways, man never learns the lesson of responsibility for his or her own actions. That never happens. I know that it's difficult to understand why a God would allow somebody to lose their legs in a car accident. I know that's hard to understand. But you have no idea what the final outcome of that is going to be. I know of a person who said, I was laid up for a time, and I realized that I was focusing on things that didn't matter. And my being laid up for that period of time made that very clear to me, and it totally changed my perspective on life. Now, they didn't like being in bed and stuck in bed for, days, weeks, whatever on end, but it did things for them that they did not understand. Lots of times, things that you see or hear that seem horrible, that seem terrible, in one sense they are, but in another sense, they're literally a blessing for the person who goes through them, as difficult as they are at the time to deal with. So, if you're asking me, do I believe God is evil? The answer to that question is no, I don't believe God is evil. I believe lots of man is evil, and if you don't give God if you don't allow God the ability to make us sentient, self-governing beings, you'll never understand that. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 26th of March of 2022, the remainder of that Sabbath for those who observe it, until sunset today, sundown, sunset today. Tomorrow then will be Sunday, the 27th of March of 2022, which is, according to the majority of Christians, I think you'll find the beginning of the Christian week. Thank you for having come on either Rumble, the podcast, YouTube, BitChute, CloudHub, my Facebook page, which is Kurt's Religion and Politics on Facebook, Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, mine's minds.com, and that would be typically on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be seeing me today. Subject for today has been an evil God. And like I said, that's almost a question. Tomorrow's subject is going to be discounting others, and it has to do with somebody essentially making the statement that people pigeonhole folks with the idea that they can use that to discount them. And I'd like to say a few things about that that I think you'll, or hope at least, and I think that you will find useful. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. And hopefully I will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Saturday the 26th of March of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.